You know that person that you want to call the minute that something goes terribly wrong? Or something goes incredibly right? Or maybe you heard the funniest thing today. But either way, that's the person that when you look at your phone, you know you're going to call them. I was lucky enough to have that person for a very long time. My person was my dad's cousin, Nenna. And Nenna was, so many ways to describe her. She was, first and foremost, like a big sister to me and to my sisters. She lived right around the corner for a good chunk of my childhood. And she was so special. First of all, she took us to our first movie in the movie theaters when we were kids. Had never been to a movie theater before. In our family, we don't really bake. She would bake homemade cookies. She would just hang out with us like that big sister. She was funny. She loved board games. All the things that nobody else in our household ever did. And as much as I loved her, she became a lot more than just a big sister when I was about 14. Those of you that probably know me a little bit better have heard me talk about this, but I see some faces that I don't know, so I'll tell you. When I was 14, we had a really deep tragedy in our house. My baby brother passed away. The same day that he was born, he lived about 3 hours, and then he passed away. And this was a really, really deep grieving period for our family. My mom was in what I refer to as a crippling depression, would barely get out of bed. My dad pretty much drowned himself in his work to stay busy. My older sister drowned herself in preparing to go off to college and be the first of our family to do that. And my little sister, who was 6, and me, 14, had to kind of fend for ourselves and figure out how to manage and maneuver all that. And the day after the baby died, I remember walking around the kitchen, and the house was just flooded with people. It felt like everyone we'd ever known came over. And of course, they all brought food. What is it with people bringing food when someone dies? I don't know. I immediately tried to figure out where I fit into that picture, tried to make myself useful. So I was clearing dishes and moving things, and then I decided I would be the person to walk people out as they were leaving. So I would just walk people out to the door and whatnot. And an uncle of mine, as I was walking him out, said something to me that stuck with me probably for far too long. In the best of intentions, he hugged me and he said, "You have to be strong now. Don't let her see you cry." Yeah, I know. It's something that I took so strongly to heart that I pretty much convinced myself that I wasn't supposed to have feelings in this whole thing. That I was here to support my little sister and be, supportive in the household as much as I could be. So I just kind of shoved all my emotions as deep as I possibly could. And every once in a while, I would let myself cry a little bit, but I told myself that I hated to cry. Crying was the worst. So at night, when everybody would be falling asleep, I might let out a tear or two and fall asleep. Or there's always the shower. Am I right? It's the best place to cry. So you can hide your tears from yourself there. Huh. But other than that, I honestly just really didn't want to acknowledge any of my own feelings about it because it felt like I would just be falling down a well that I wouldn't be able to climb out of. And the year continued. But Nenna, this wonderful woman, she was the only one that really saw me. She could see that I was struggling. I'm sure she could see that I was probably bottling things up. And maybe because she was an elementary school teacher, she really understood kids. So she took the time to reach out and to talk to me. She convinced my mom that she needed a walking companion, which she definitely did not. She was a tough lady. But she would go out every day at 5 a.m. during the summertime for a very long walk. She told my mom that she needed me to go with her because she needed a walking companion. And my mom thought that was pretty reasonable. She was like, sure, of course, that sounds right. So I started going on these long walks with Nenna. Sometimes 30 minutes, just a couple streets, sometimes hours and halfway through town. But every day that we went on those walks, she would ask me, how are you doing? And the very first time she asked me, it felt like such a foreign question. Like, how am I doing? Me? Like, who cares? What does that even matter? But she kept asking, well, how's school? Have you made any friends? How's it going? When's the last time you ate something? Just the little things that, frankly, no one in the world was asking. And before you knew it, she broke down my walls. And I started talking. And I started telling her how I was feeling and how lonely it was and how hard this whole thing was. And I'm going to get emotional. It was such a relief to have someone that would just listen and be there, even just walking next to me while we talked. Years later, she did it again, went off to college and came back home. And we were going through an especially stressful time, and my little sister at the time was now in high school. And she came to my mom and she said, hey, I need your girls once a week to watch an English soap opera with me. It's called Grey's Anatomy. And I just can't get anybody to watch it with me. So if you don't mind, I'm going to borrow them once a week to come over. And we did. We'd go over once a week, go there in the evenings and watch Grey's Anatomy and cry our eyes out together to all those horrible scenes. And she'd make hot chocolate and she'd bake these beautiful cookies. And it was just the space we needed to just escape a little bit. And with all that crying, maybe every once in a while let out a real tear. So it was really nice. But about 1.5 years ago, she couldn't be there for me for one of the hardest things. We lost Nenna to cancer. So 2 summers ago, she passed away pretty suddenly. She'd gotten diagnosed maybe just a couple of months before. And I was really hoping for a miracle. I was like, it's not going to happen, not Nenna. But when it happened, it just happened, and I had to slightly accept it. I say slightly because I convinced myself that if I went to her house, she would just be there. But she wasn't. And eventually I had to really force myself to process it. I started going to things like grief counseling, as we all do, right? Our good, healthy people going to mental health things. And I remember going to this grief counseling session online and talking about it, and I said, the thing is, when things like this happen, she's the one that I would call. So who do I turn to now? And it hurt so deeply to realize that that was what was also really hurting down in the depths of all of this grief. I didn't know who to turn to anymore. I spent most of that year, processing in every way that I possibly could. But only a short couple months actually after she passed, October came around and it was Day of the Dead. And let me tell you, I was not ready for that one. I sat there in front of this altar for hours, contemplating every possible way that I was going to set it up. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it, because if I did it, it meant I had to acknowledge she was really gone. So that first year, I didn't do it. But last year, the second year, I finally added her to my altar. I took one of our favorite pictures of her where she's smiling, that bright, beautiful smile. I think it's the same picture, actually, that the kids at the elementary school that she taught used for the dedication to this beautiful little garden they made for her in her memory. And I put it on my altar, and I grabbed her favorite peanut butter patties that we probably ate like 6 dozen of in Hawaii. And I put those on the altar for her. And I sat there and I brought myself to talk to my safe best friend. And I said, I miss you so much. I really wish you were here. And I know that even though I can't get one of those hugs anymore, because she gave the best hugs in the world, that you're still around somewhere. And I'm going to keep talking to you. And thank you for always being my person. I hope you don't mind if I keep chatting with you. So now, my safe space is speaking to her, whether it's at the altar, which I do keep her around the entire year in some capacity with her flowers and things, or sometimes when I'm just driving home. I'll just tell her how my day went and tell her about all the stupid things that happened at work or, little things about home, because she would want to know. And I want her to know. And I know she's watching and she probably knows all this stuff already. But I also know she would love to keep hearing me talk about it and to keep hearing how I feel about it. So I'm going to keep doing it. Thank you.